But that's coming to an end from what we see now. Jogo Road is still busy going towards Landis, but the madness that's happening on Uhuru Highway this morning is easily going towards the 9th circle of hell. Crazy traffic. All that being fed from Langata Road, also coming in from Lusaka, Bunyala, Haile Selassie, and Gong Road. So that's very busy this morning. Rhino Dingaway, as you get towards the roundabout at the City Mortuary, that's busy. And we're still looking at some traffic coming off of Ring Road Westlands. James Gisher Road, probably the last bits of it as you head towards Red Hill. But Red Hill Link Road inbound towards Waiyaki Way is absolutely crazy. Lower Kabete towards Spring Valley is also bumper to bumper. And we're still looking at quite some traffic coming off Peponi Road going towards Limuru Road. So that still happens now. Let's see what happens as we come out of traffic hour. We'll talk on Spice FM KE on X. Hashtag the Situation Room.
It's 7 minutes after 9. Thank you for keeping it locked in Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. City. Please remind us again about this companion called Tala that you'd like us to download on Google Play.
Well, let's look at it this way. Not everybody needs a companion. But if you are anyone who at some point or the other has been besieged by a financial emergency, then I would say you need a partner. And I'm telling you directly that Tala is that partner that you need. Why? Because emergencies don't announce themselves in advance and say, today I'm coming. It arrives at the most inopportune time, and it puts you in a very, very difficult position. And when it's a financial problem, it more or less holds you by the throat and demands that you address it immediately. If you download Tala, you will then experience a whole new world of financial convenience. Why am I saying this? Tala isn't one of those fly-by-night fintechs whose sole aim seems to be to embarrass their borrowers when they have difficulties repaying. Tala is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya, and it is registered to and with the the Data Commission of Kenya.
Very good.
So it means you are in safe hands. Yes.
Yeah. And because we are giving you all the advice on how to manage your finances, right? When you're in an emergency, where can you get, that immediate friend? When you're also planning, because also it's not just in emergencies. You cannot just also be planning on how to run your finances, right? So at this particular point, I will be getting into Tala, borrowing to meet 1, 2, 3 needs. I know at this point I'll be able to pay. So you keep your credit score high as well. Because that is one side of the things that we're telling you. Let's also tell you about the other side, which is pension and preparing for your retirement. And there are very many pension funds available in the country. One of the best is the Taifa Pension Fund, registered and regulated by the Retirement Benefits Authority. So the Taifa Pension Fund is a pension fund for all, tailored to offer a safe and secure way to save for retirement. It's a contracted out scheme receiving tier 2 contributions. It's an umbrella fund that allows members to pool funds, take charge of your future by investing in your retirement with Taifa. Taifa unites Kenyans across all backgrounds, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you're just thinking about and you've gotten to that level where you're now financially aware and retirement is going to come. Sure, as the sun rises in the east, you're growing older every day, and you want to start putting your money towards a trusted retirement pension scheme. The Taifa Pension Fund is the one. How do you get more information? Go to their website, www.taifapensionfund.com. That's www.taifapensionfund.com. Or you can call them on, those are many ones, 1114000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4,000. 5 ones, 4,000. Okay? It's by CPF. It's a very big thing. Our next conversation is going to be about corruption and projects. Every time we hear there's a new infrastructure project, just the conversation at the point we ended it with Kaluma, the issue of trust, deficit, government. Government, trust, deficit, public. There's a new project. The first thing people are thinking, so how has this one been contracted? What's going on? When now we go into PPPs, it's a whole conversation altogether. At PPP. So we are giving away this thing to these guys. For how long?
How much?
We are starting to do PPP at somebody will own water dams and then they'll start selling water to us at whatever price they decide.
No, selling our water.
Our water to us. Because
not just water. He's not coming with his water. It is our water that they want to sell to us.
So there's a whole issue about just trying to understand, and that's why we've invited Engineer Howard Mai. He is a civil engineer and an infrastructure contracts professional. Engineer, good morning.
Good morning, Latif.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Everybody who has seen the poster that we were saying you're coming said, please, if it is Mumero, it is Mutomai.
Mutomai.
Yes. Is that how you pronounce your name?
The name
apostrophe M-A-Y-I.
You pronounce it Mai.
So you pull the
Yes, without Nto.
So it's not Ntomai.
It's not Ntomai.
This is Mai.
What does Nto mean?
Mtoto.
I have no idea.
Murua. Ole.
Son of.
I've heard.
You get it?
I haven't got it.
You got it? Very good. But this one is Mai.
Mai, yes, correct.
Karibu sana, engineer.
Asante sana.
Yeah, that's a hot seat of the Situation Room.
I can feel it.
Very good. City is going to give you the day's proverb.
Okay.
This week we are in the Africa.
We are in the Africa south of the Sahara. The previous weeks we were in the area of the Maghreb. Now, this country that we are going to, should we say, mine proverbs from, is the Democratic Republic of Congo. Okay? They have a president. He's called Felix
Tshisekedi.
Well done. Well done. Well done. Does anybody know who the Prime Minister is? They're usually not known.
No.
It's a lady. Okay? Her name is actually Judith Suminwa. In case you didn't know, they have a Prime Minister, Judith Suminwa. It's a lady. Okay? And yes, tutawacha hapo ingine tutasema baadaye, meaning we'll leave it there. Other matters pertaining to the country we'll discuss tomorrow.
Okay.
Firewood burns as long as it is not wet. A good man triumphs only when he is just. It's the same proverb.
Same proverb.
It's not two in one. No. Firewood burns as long as it is not wet. A good man triumphs only when he is just.
Engineer, what's your interpretation?
Let me hear the last part. A good man does what?
Wakes up in the morning. No, a good man triumphs only when he is just.
Okay, firewood burns when it is still wet.
No.
Not wet.
Okay,
when it's not wet.
Let me say it again, bro.
Okay.
Firewood burns as long as it is not wet. Hapo tuko sawa?
Tuko sawa.
As Kenyans say, tuko pamoja?
Yes.
All right. A good man triumphs only when he is just.
Okay. When firewood is dry, it provides the correct environment for combustion. Let me try to be engineering. At the moment you introduce water, and then it interferes with the process of combustion. So at the burning stops. That's why in instances like where wood catches fire, water can be used as an extinguisher to extinguish the fire. On the second part of it, that a good man triumphs
only when he is just.
Only when he is just.
Yes.
This sends me back to some memories of the yesterday's sermon, where someone was preaching about the fruits of the Holy Spirit. The conclusion of that chapter says that against all these fruits, there is no law.
which book of the Bible? No, he's right.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, it lists the fruits of the Holy Spirit, like love, kindness,
That is correct.
self-control, and then at the conclusion, it says, "Against such, there is no law." So I would flip that saying against this scripture, that when you do what is right, the law only exists for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Ama namna gani?
Tuko pamoja.
Tuko pamoja. Yes.
Sawa. Ama unasemaje ndu?
Ni hivyo.
Tuko sawa sawa.
Yes.
Aya, engineer.
Yes.
Recently, we have now the public has started engaging a lot more with the issue of public-private partnerships as a way of infrastructure projects. Previously, we've just been dealing with government-funded projects. Either it's a loan, it's a partnership, it's a multilateral, bilateral agreement, and then it's funded, and that's where the other piece of law comes in. The Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act. Is that what it's called?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Now, there's been a whole confusion about these things and seeing the projects coming to fruition. First of all, what's the difference between these two, and especially when it comes to infrastructure projects?
If you allow me, Eric, I would wish to first lay a little bit of a background to construction projects and the questions of the topic of today in the context of projects. And I'll start where Mheshimiwa Kaluma left. I was listening to him, and I was not only listening to him, I was also following the comments. The comments were coming in furious. If you look through the comments, you can tell people are so angry out there. And second thing that comes out very vividly is that there is an extreme trust deficit from the public, almost to the extent that the moment you mention that you are government, trust levels go down as low as 40, 50, 60%.
People look at you differently.
People begin expecting that you are going to bring another lie. And because of this unfortunately is what has been driving conversations about public issues, including the ones like what you've mentioned. When people are discussing PPPs in this country, they don't seem to be driven by the principles that govern these PPPs. Instead, they're driven by emotions. They're driven by how they feel about everything. They're driven by, there's another thing that Mheshimiwa Kaluma said, that the economy is not doing very well. And when an economy is not doing very well, you don't need to explain to people. They feel it. They're able to feel it in their pockets. They're able to feel it when needs are arriving at their tables and they're not able to sort it. So that is the mood with which people come to discuss PPP. And yet PPP itself is something that it has a life of its own. In this sense, one, people have found it difficult to distinguish between PPP and normal contracts. Because, for example, a standard contract, you've mentioned several methods of financing that we've experienced before. Sometimes government collects money and they're able to just engage contractors and that they're able to do jobs. Sometimes government goes for loans, whether they are concessional loans or whether they are preferential buyer credit loans, depending on the circumstances that you are facing at that time. And of course, all these arrangements are subject to established laws within the country. That's what we've known all along, that you get money, you engage a contractor, he does a job, you pay him. And when we begin talking about PPP, the public, even professionals, struggle to distinguish between a normal contract, just a normal construction contract, and that, because PPP is not a construction contract. It's a financing arrangement. From the start. PPP is a financing model and not a construction contract. Inside this financing of infrastructure, there are several things, including the construction contract. So the construction contract is only an element of the entire PPP arrangement.
But the bulk of it is the financing.
The bulk of it is the financing, though that financing comes with lots of other issues. Let me just try to list a few other things that are inside the PPP. You have the construction contract, which normally will come with the EPC contractor inside the contract. You have the question of design. You have the question of supervision, which under normal circumstances will be stand-alone contracts. You have operation, and that operation will run for the duration of the PPP. If you are running a project for 30 years, then you will by all means you need to have some setup that will be running that
An
project.
entity.
And then you have maintenance. These are the standard projects. Once the construction contract ends, the supervision contract has also ended, the design ended sometime, you will be having multiple maintenance contracts for that period of the project life cycle. So if you pick, for example, a road that was done under PPP and a road that was done under normal construction, what was done under normal construction, by the time it reaches the 30th year, perhaps it has serviced not less than 15 maintenance contracts, maybe with different contractors.
Yeah.
Now, inside the PPP, you must have this maintenance as part and parcel of that arrangement. So, from the word go, when you analyze PPP as though it's a construction contract, you've already really you've already missed the discussion. You've already missed the discussion, and what you are discussing is an orange for a banana. Second thing that I would wish to highlight is that all these arrangements, both the construction contract and its procurement, its maintenance, and what have you, and the PPP, because of that difference that I've tried to bring up, you will notice that the laws that govern them, and these laws are passed by Parliament, the laws that govern them are also distinctly different. For instance, if you are going to procure for a construction contract, and you have the money, whether you have it as a loan or as tax you have collected, you are looking at a method of procurement. And the Public Procurement and Disposal Act has got a list of procurement methods, depending again on the circumstances, including what people have popularly referred to as, direct procurement. And a lot of people struggle to interpret. There's a time I was in a forum and I was listening to two honorable members. These are legislators talking about PPP, and they're very angry, like every other Kenyan. And this anger is driven by how people feel about the economy. But if you listen to the argument, they didn't seem to draw a distinction between the PPP Act, which is a document they produced, and Public Procurement and Disposal Act, which again is a document that they produced. Because the PPP Act is here to govern this whole idea of an approach of financing a project and then constructing it, bringing it to be, and running it, and ensuring that someone gets back their money over that period of time. This other law is governing procuring, where you have the money and you're able to pay for the service that you are procuring.
Is there anyone in government who knows the difference between those two?
They know. Why would they not know?
Okay, why do you speak so confidently that they know? What is it that you know that we don't know? Yes.
No, because what I'm talking about are laws. They are laws. They are not a creation of Engineer Howard. They are laws that are created by Parliament. They are there. And one thing that you need to know is that the laws of this land, they say that ignorance is not defense in the law. So they are there, and they are available for anybody and everybody doing it to get to learn them and to know them and to apply them. But sometimes people may know something, and maybe the only struggle they're having is they're struggling to say it. This is a hot seat, Eric said. Someone can reach in this hot seat and they begin struggling to tell the difference between those two laws.
The cat does the thing to their tongue.
Yeah.
Okay. From your experience and just looking at these different projects and how they have been handled from end to end, do you feel that those who are in charge actually act knowing that this is in the best interest of the country? So, for example, when a decision is made that let's go a PPP route and not the PPDA route.
Yes.
That everything, all the dots have been ticked and the T's have been crossed. That thing.
All these things happen in contexts. Projects don't just happen out of the blues. PPP is not a new concept. Today, when we discuss about it in Kenya, it's as though it's a new concept. But in this country, I think there are projects which have been done by PPP. They were finished, they were operated, they were transferred, they were taken over by government, and life moved on.
Give us an example.
A good example is Nyali Bridge in Mombasa. Have you ever asked yourself why that place called Lights? There is some open space that you can't exactly explain what it used to be for.
Hapo lights hapo Kengeleni.
Pale lines, pale Kengeleni.
Kengeleni hapo.
Yes. I think that was a toll for Nyali Bridge. Once the project was handed over back to government, we are still enjoying it today.
Allah.
It's do.
So that was a
yes,
PPP
it's a typical
then.
example of a PPP then,
Okay.
which ran its full course of lifetime, and now it was handed over back to government. Now government is running it for free, and people are still enjoying it. But coming back to your question, whether people are acting in the interest of the public, and I've mentioned to you that it's all about context. For instance, let me mention one context. In Kenya today, you know that we have a law that governs how much you can borrow.
Yep.
And the limit is placed by the debt to GDP ratio. Once the government has borrowed up to that limit, it becomes difficult for government to borrow any more without breaking the law. And nobody wants to do that when you are in a position of responsibility in government. So, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that needs have ended. The population is still growing. People still need infrastructure. Today, for instance, there has been discussions about what's happening in the energy sector and questions about why we are doing a PPP. But
transmission lines.
Yes, I've listened, for example, to some of the professionals who are engaged in those projects and the people who are responsible. And one of the message that comes out is that we have a grid, and the grid is struggling with stability. And for us to bring that stability and ensure that people are going to continue getting power without interference, we need to improve the grid by introducing additional lines and substations so that we bring on board stability. Now, that's a context that the person who understands it is that officer of the law who has been given powers to make such decisions. Now, he knows that for us to get stable electricity, we need to increase, to improve this grid by these 300 kilometers transmission lines and maybe 10 substations. But when he goes back to his cabinet secretary and he's looking for money, the cabinet secretary goes back to cabinet and they're supposed to make a decision. There is a paper at cabinet level, and this cabinet is bound by the law. They cannot borrow, and they are not able to collect enough to pay the debts at the time when you are supposed to pay it, and at the same time channel money into projects, into doing this transmission line. Because this issue seems to be, time is also pressing on them, because our government, when it comes into place, it makes promises to its people that we are going to do ABCD, and that time does not stop. Once you take that Bible and you swear, the clock starts ticking. So time is not waiting for you. So for someone to overcome that kind of challenges, then the option that they retreat back to is a model of financing that is not going to balloon the public debt, while at the same time it avails resources so that a project can be done within a certain time. So if you look at that context, you are not able to query such situations before you look at the context under which they've worked. And one of the Kenyan contexts is the law that is established and our financial situation.
And the needs.
And the needs.
And the infrastructure needs.
Yes, all of them are coming, and then there is a time factor to all these issues.
So, if all of this is understood from the point of view of those who work on these particular projects, we look at that, which is brick and mortar. You know that, if there's a paper that's...
It looks straight.
It looks straightforward, absolutely.
Yes.
It looks straightforward, and that there's a document that's supposed to be adhered to. But then when you inject the element of humans,
Yes.
why does it always seem as though something might go off?
This whole idea of as I said, from the beginning, is the mood with which people are commenting about these issues. This mood clouds judgment. That mood clouds judgment.
Okay.
That mood clouds judgment. And you see, someone could be pissed off because he feels that this thing was said somewhere, it didn't turn out to be right. And when he says it didn't turn out to be right, it depends on what they've been exposed to as the information they have access to. Sometimes you don't have full information. So when you don't have full information, you are bound to comment based on what you have received, what you've seen. Let me give you an example. When we started this discussion, it's a corruption in projects. Are we boxing shadows? And from my standpoint, I think by and large, we have been boxing shadows, and sometimes it consumes a lot of our collective energy to a point that we waste energy and resources fighting things that do not add value to the fight. Sometimes I feel like investigations into corruption scandals, quote unquote, end up losing more money than the contracts we are trying to look into. I can see CT is trying to connect it. And this is it's a whole context that brings together the public, the political leadership, the media. I mean, all of us in one ecosystem seem to be driving this. For instance, there is Eric. There is a few years ago we had these discussions about the dam scandals.
Yeah.
Okay. When I posted that I was coming here, someone was in my inbox telling me you need to talk about the dam scandals. Let me mention something about it. Do you know that if we came down to the issues and if we examined the principles of everything that happened, we could argue that we lost more money in the investigation than in the contracts. Like the contracts were just normal contracts which people have not paid attention to understand them, but because they're arguing based on emotions, you go all the wrong way investigating them. First, you come out here and you get a news headline: 65 billion shillings dam scandal. What picture does that create? In the mind of a normal reader, they start immediately thinking that we've lost 65 billion shillings.
Yes.
Okay. When you come down to the contract and when you listen to more discussions, remember, I read the same news that you read. But as an infrastructure professional and as a contracts professional, I see and understand it differently. So when you tell me that 65 billion has been lost in a dam scandal, from the way I understand projects is that I would wish to know how many payments had been made. Because you cannot say you've lost something that has not been paid. When you come down to look at what has been paid, again, based on what is already in the public, what has already been reported in the public, you find 7 billion has been paid.
Only 7.
Only 7 billion. But for me, I don't stop there. I ask myself, what was it paid for? It was paid as an advance payment.
Yeah.
Again, for me as a contracts person, advance payment is a contractual payment. But I'll tell you some of the things that perhaps a journalist did not bring out when they were reporting that 7 billion has been paid. One, advance payment is a contractual payment. Number two, it is not just paid. If you look at how government, not just government, how clients handle advance payment. Today, if I came to you and you are giving me a job, you're telling me, Howard, you are a professional, I want you to do job XYZ for me, and I'm supposed to pay you advance payment. For an advance payment to be processed, you need to put in an advance payment guarantee. And for government, it's a standard form. This is how it says that you shall provide an advance payment guarantee. No, it says from an irrevocable, unconditional advance payment guarantee from a reputable local financial institution. So before you pay 7 billion, one of the things that you have to do is to get that advance payment guarantee.
The guarantee.
Okay. And there is a way this guarantee is handled. That guarantee is like money. That the contractor is going to bring you a guarantee, a bank guarantee, which is a paper. But how that paper is handled like money, because it's actual money.
It's a promissory note.
Yes, but it's handled with the seriousness that it deserves. So when that paper comes, you don't send it to the driver to go and or send someone a text message and tell him, hello sir, from bank XYZ. Can you verify this guarantee? No, that's not how you verify that guarantee. You are going to take probably a legal officer carrying that guarantee. Is taken by a driver to that bank, and he doesn't go to the bank teller. He doesn't even go to the branch manager. He goes to a certain department in that bank, because this 7 billion you're carrying,
deals with those
which deals with these guarantees. He will go and verify that guarantee, and he doesn't verify by someone looking at it. It is verified by the bank writing another letter, because you've written to them a letter asking them that we have this guarantee in favor of project XYZ.
Confirm.
So the bank is going to confirm also in written and write back to you and tell you that yes, this guarantee was issued and the conditions that are in the guarantee are as stated. And so we are good. When you come back with that letter and you go to the client, those papers are kept in a safe, probably with 3-level access codes.
Mm-hmm.
This is the whole idea, because if the contractor goes into default, you do not take a flight to go to whichever country, to China or to Italy, to investigate an advance payment. You invoke provisions of the contract and cash the guarantee.
It's a guarantee.
Yes.
Just say bank.
You tell the
Here it
bank,
is, yeah.
give me my 7 billion.
Your guy took off.
Remember, you have no obligation to tell the bank, mmekosania nini. You don't have to begin explaining. That's not the issue. It's an irrevocable, unconditional guarantee. On my first demand, you get me the money. So tell me, why would you be taking a flight
to go? Going to Italy? Why
are we going to Italy? Secondly, and after you've done all these investigations, and with due respect to agencies of investigation like the TCI, like the EACC, you see, DCI, for example, these are police officers who are trained to investigate crimes, serious crime. Yes. But sometimes the tools that you need to do a proper investigation and not to go the wrong direction might not be.
Are you saying we do not have individuals or groups of individuals who understand financial crimes in this country?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that sometimes you leave the correct tools and you use the wrong tools, but not that the correct tools are not there.
And keep wasting money.
Yes, and it costs you money.
Which is why I asked you, engineer, whether you think that from the very beginning there is public interest involved.
Again,
let's take a break. We'll come back and pick it from that point. Engineer Howard Mai is our guest this morning. He's a civil engineer. He's an infrastructure contracts professional. He understands very many things about infrastructure projects, and that's what we're talking about. Corruption and our infrastructure projects. Are we boxing shadows? When you talk about all these things with so much anger and spending so much time, are we actually addressing the real issues at heart, or are we not? Now, the future belongs to those who prepare for the future. Okay? The fastest growing pension fund in the country today is one called Taifa Pension Fund. It is regulated and registered and regulated by the Retirement Benefits Authority. So, engineer, go to their website, www.taifapensionfund.com, and get more details and see how you can join the fastest growing pension fund in the country.